Hello again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much for joining me as always. This is episode 3 of the TST Total Sports Talk inaugural Yahoo Fantasy Football League. It was a great week in fantasy football. It was a great week in week number 2, and each and every week we keep looking forward to the next just to see how good it's going to be. There were a number of great matchups, a lot of some very close scores, some that weren't so close. And what we're going to do is we'll recap what went down last week in all the matchups, who were the big performers of the winning teams, and who could have performed better. For the losing teams, what we're also going to do is give you an idea of who was at the top of their respective positions in the fantasy point scores last week. We're also to give you kind of an idea of who you should start this week if you are in dire need of a little bit of a piece of advice as to who to start and who to insert in the lineup. We'll also give you an idea of, so last week's matchups we're going to recap. This week's preview, we're going to preview each matchup, give you an idea of who's projected to come out on top, and who needs big games to allow the underdog to come out victorious. We are also going to tee up all the games. We're going to go through the schedule of this week's in the NFL, all the games. We're going to preview those. And we're also going to give you an idea of an injury report that we're following, give you kind of an idea of some of the players that we're following currently, and give you an idea of those guys as their conditions. So that way, if you have them in your lineup, then you can consider whether or not to place somebody else in their position. Anyways, so without further ado, we're going to start this week with our week 2 matchups from last week. Before we do that, of course, actually what I want to do first is give you a list now of all the top fantasy performers at each one of their position. The first position is the QB's position. Tom Brady led the way last week, 69.78 points for Tom Brady of the New England Patriots. He was just phenomenal. Aaron Rodgers was second at 58.52. Carson Wentz was very good for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was number 3, 56.82. Drew Brees, 56.24. He was number 4. Phillip Rivers, Trevor Siemian, Derek Carr of the Oakland Raiders, Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys, Mike Glennon of the Chicago Bears, and Joe Flacco of the Baltimore Ravens round out the top 10 QBs. Over on the running back position, it was headed by C.J. Anderson, who was absolutely phenomenal in a big win against Dallas for the Denver Broncos last week. He topped out at 33.40 points on the fantasy football scene. He was followed up by Ty Montgomery, who had an even 29 points. Todd Gurley of the LA Rams had 26.60 points. Chris Thompson, Washington Redskins, he was very good again. Kareem Hunt had a wonderful second week. He was right there at 25.90. Devontae Freeman, Javorius Allen, Melvin Gordon, Carlos Hyde, and Jalen Richard of the Oakland Raiders rounds out the running back top 10. Now over to our wide receiver. Michael Crabtree was the big beneficiary in Oakland. He secured all 3 touchdowns that Derek Carr threw for a big Oakland Raiders win in week number 2. He topped out at 32 points. To lead the way for the wide receivers, J.J. Nelson from Arizona had a very good week, 26 points. Emmanuel Sanders secured a couple touchdowns. That helped his cause, 24-20 for him. Devontae Adams stepped up big in the absence of Jordy Nelson. He was number 4. Javon Curse from the New York Football Jets was number 5 at 22.40. Mike Evans, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was there. Number 6, Alshon Jeffrey, Philadelphia Eagles. Keenan Allen of the LA Chargers. Alan Hearns of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Jarvis Landry of the Miami Dolphins round out the top 10 wide receivers. Over on the tight end spectrum, it was Travis Kelce leading the way, 27.30 for him. He was well over 100 yards. Same with Rob Gronkowski, who secured a touchdown in the win. Jason Witten, Benjamin Watson, Delaney Walker, Jack Doyle, Eric Ebron, Hunter Henry, Evan Engram, and Zach Ertz. Were the big top performers from the tight end position last week. The top kickers, Chris Boswell leading the way for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 16 points for him. Ryan Suckup of the Tennessee Titans had 15, along with Cody Parkey, who hit the game winner for the Miami Dolphins in a win over the LA Chargers in week number 2. Nick Folk, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Matt Bryant, Atlanta Falcons. Steven Gostkowski in the New England Patriots. Phil Dawson, Arizona Cardinals. Dustin Hopkins of the Washington Redskins. Robbie Gould of the San Francisco 49ers. And Chandler Catanzaro of the New York Jets rounds out the kicker top 10. And finally, the top defenses in the league. Tampa Bay led the way, 19 points after a 29-7 win over the Chicago Bears. Detroit Lions were right there. Baltimore Ravens, Atlanta Falcons, Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers, and the Tennessee Titans. So why don't we? What we're going to do now is we'll recap all the matchups for week number 1. Their first matchup is the Denver Broncos coming out victorious, 194-09 to 138-84 over Johnny Flores' team. Tom Brady was his Denver's big guy on his team, 69.78 points. He also got big days from Emmanuel Sanders, 24-20, and Javorius Allen, 21-10 from him. Johnny Flores has needed more production out of guys like Deshaun Kaiser, who had only 16.88 points, Deshaun Jackson, 6.90, and the big disappointment was DeMarco Murray at 3.80 points. You know what? Both teams now at 1-1. They got some work to do, no question. There are a lot of teams in the league at 1-1. There's 2 teams at 0-2, 2 teams at 2-0. The rest are at 1-1 throughout the league. Our second matchup featured the Bounty Hunters victorious over the Golden Taint. Bounty Hunters 244-14 to 199-09 from the Golden Taint. Golden Taint. Derek Brees and Derek Carr led the way for, Drew Brees and Derek Carr led the way for the Bounty Hunters. Drew Brees 56.24 points and Derek Carr 50.20 points. They were both very, very good. Ty Montgomery was big for him as well, 29 points. Chris Boswell 16 points, and the Baltimore defense had 17 points to lead the way for him. The Golden Taint, they needed more production out of Jared Goff. He only had 28.06 points. AJ Green was kind of a disappointment, 11.70 points. Amir Abdullah, 8.60, and Golden Tate, as aforementioned, at 650 points for him. He needed more production to come out victorious, but Bounty Hunters, they had a huge game. They're a tough team to face, tough team to beat, tough team to take down. And unfortunately, Golden Tate came up a little short. Our third matchup was Brandon's Bold team coming out victorious to a team has no name, 146-76 to 140-66. This was a very close matchup. Brandon's Bold team got big points from Michael Crabtree, 32 points to lead the way there. Matt Bryant, the kicker, had 14 points for him. And Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, 32.70 points. He had a huge game, huge day, and a win. Isaiah Crowell, 3.70 points for a team has no name. Not going to cut it. Tyreek Hill, only 9.30 points. Again, well below the projection there. Brandon Cooks, 6.30 points. And he also had 2 players on his lineup in the starter's position that registered 0 points. Allen Robinson, who's sidelined for the year in Jacksonville, and Willie Snead, who is still serving a suspension for the New Orleans Saints, is not eligible to return until week number 4. He also registered 0 points. Our fourth matchup was Ed's Reed defeating Quarter Pounders, 243-44 to 178-23. Aaron Rodgers was his big gun. He had 58.52 points for Ed's Reed. Kareem Hunt, 25.90 points. Travis Kelce, 27.30 points. Jason Witten, 25.70 points. And the Detroit defense was very good, 17 points from them. Quarter Pounders could have used a better performance from Terrell Pryor Sr., only 5.10 points. Jordan Howard, the running back from Chicago, left with an injury, 0.70 points there. Jimmy Graham, 1.10 point. And Corey Coleman, who ended up breaking his hand, and he will miss the remainder of the season. Or they're either saying rest of the season or 6 to 8 weeks, one of the two. Corey Coleman will miss some time there. He left with the injury, like I said. 1.90 points only registered for him. Ed's Reed leads the league 2-0 on the season. We'll get to the division standings in a moment. Houston Strong leads our fifth matchup. He defeated Purple Rain. Purple Rain used to be D-Nice's team. They've changed it now. They are now known as Purple Rain. Nice Prince reference. I can appreciate that. Houston Strong, 211.55 to Purple Rain's 190.86. Houston Strong got big performances from Carson Wentz, 56.82 points. Chris Hogan, 18.80. Rob Gronkowski, 26.60. Kobe Fleener, 12.30 points there. Brandon Marshall let Purple Rain down big time, 2.70 points. Greg Olson left with an injury, broken foot, 6 to 8 weeks for him. 2 points for him. And LaShawn McCoy only 10.30 points. Kind of a disappointment in a Buffalo convincing dud against the Carolina Panthers in a loss. They hope to rebound this Sunday against the Denver Broncos. Our sixth and final matchup is the Birmingham Chiefs, moving themselves to 2-0 with a 209.20 to 152.12 victory over OJ's parole board. This was over before it started, really. Devontae Adams led the way for the Chiefs, 23.90 points. Todd Gurley, 26.60 points. C.J. Anderson, 33.40. And Delaney Walker, the tight end from Tennessee, had 16.20 points to lead the way. There was a lot of very different people who produced for Birmingham Chiefs, and they go to 2-0. They are second in the TST Total Sports Talk Yahoo Fantasy Football League. OJ's parole board, they should have gotten more points. They left Sam Bradford in the starting QB position. He, of course, did not play due to injury. Registered 0 points. Adrian Peterson, 2.60 points. T.Y. Hilton, 8.90. And Larry Fitzgerald, 5.10 point. It's just not going to cut it. It's one of those things that, you're just not going to be able to cut at the end of the day. So, you know what? So here we are. We're entering week number 3 now. There are a lot of great matchups on the docket in the NFL throughout the course of the schedule. We look at some matchups here now. Leading the way, we got the Denver Broncos at 1-1 against a team that has no name at 180.82. Denver and the team has no name is at 1-1 each. Denver is led by Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, and Jordy Nelson, while a team has no name has counters with Julio Jones, Brandon Cooks, and Tyreek Hill. It's scheduled to be a little bit of a Denver Bronco romp, but who knows? These projections, you never really know at the end of the day. The Golden Taint is currently projected to defeat Johnny Flores' team, 202.44 to 179.25. The Golden Taint has A.J. Green, Dez Bryant, and Keenan Allen. Johnny Flores' team counters with Christian McCaffrey, Marshawn Lynch, and Odell Beckham Jr. Both these teams at 1-1 looking to move to 2-1. Our third matchup has Eds Reed entertaining Brandon's Bold team. This should not be close. Eds Reed will convincingly move to 3-0 in my opinion on this one. He's led by Aaron Rodgers, Ezekiel Elliott, and Kareem Hunt. Like I said, they're at 2-0. Brandon's Bold team is at 1-1. Michael Crabtree, Stephon Diggs, and Delvin Cook lead the way for him. They're going to need a huge effort from everybody involved to take down a very powerful Eds Reed in this one. Houston Strong leads our fourth matchup. They are in a very tight battle here with the Birmingham Chiefs. They are projected. So Birmingham Chiefs is currently projected to come out on top, 208.77 to 206.62 over Houston Strong. Houston Strong, they got Matt Stafford, Le'Veon Bell, Rob Gronkowski. They're going to need every bit and more to be able to take down a very good Birmingham Chiefs team who's led by Antonio Brown, Todd Gurley, and C.J. Anderson. Birmingham Chiefs 2-0 and Houston Strong at 1-1. Couple of phenomenal teams, and they look to, it's going to be a slugfest, and I can't wait to see who comes out on top in this one. Our fifth matchup of the week goes between Purple Rain and the Quarter Pounders. Purple Rain currently projected to win 209.14 to 182.65. Purple Rain is led by Matt Ryan, LaShawn McCoy, and Jay Ajayi from the Miami Dolphins. And Quarter Pounders counters with Phillip Rivers, Martavius Bryant, and Devontae Freeman. Quarter Pounders at 0-2 looking for their first win of the season. Purple Rain at 1-1. Our final matchup of week number 3 comes between the Bounty Hunters and OJ Parole Board. Bounty Hunters convincingly projected to win this one, 222-96 to 153-71. Drew Brees, Melvin Gordon, and Ty Montgomery lead Bounty Hunters here. Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, and DeAndre Hopkins hope to take down Bounty Hunters with convincing efforts, overpowering efforts, because they're going to need every bit and more in this one. OJ's Pro Bowl comes in 0-2. They're also looking for their first win, while the Bounty Hunters are at 1-1. Now, taking a look ahead, if your team is in dire need of players and you've got to pick somebody up, these are your top waiver wire ads. If you haven't already grabbed somebody, you can look to these guys to fill any sort of voids that your lineup has. We got Higgins, a Cleveland wide receiver. We got J.J. Nelson from Arizona, wide receiver. Jermaine Kearse from the New York Jets, wide receiver. Chris Carson, Seattle Seahawks, running back. The Philadelphia Eagles defense, they got a very good matchup this week against the New York Giants. Benjamin Watson, tight end, Baltimore Ravens. The Green Bay defense has a convincing matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. They should garner a lot of points there. Evan Ingram, the tight end of the New York Giants, had a good week last week. Chris Johnson, CJ2K, is back, and he led the Arizona Cardinals in rushing last week, and he goes into this matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, where C.J. Anderson torched the Cowboys last week, and Chris Johnson looks to do the same. Jalen Richard rounds out our top waiver wire ads for the Oakland Raiders. He is at the running back position. Now, also, here's some injuries that we're tracking, so just keep an eye on this. Jordy Nelson didn't play much at all for the Green Bay Packers last week after injuring his quad. He did practice, and he has said he's expected to play this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's good news for Jordy Nelson owners. Rob Gronkowski was at practice for the second consecutive day. He expects to suit up on Sunday against the Houston Texans. He was dealing with a growing injury, but he looks to be okay. We're also tracking an injury to Jordan Reed. He was back at practice after suffering a ribs and sternum injury. Jordan Reed, his injury history is miles and miles long, and he looks to have avoided a costly injury here. He should be good to go, though, come Sunday. As well, we are tracking the injury status of DeMarco Murray. He didn't play much last week after injuring his hamstring. Did not practice again today, and he does remain questionable. So consider your options there at the running back position should you have DeMarco Murray. There's lots of movement going on as well between the teams that are in this TST Total Sports Talk Yahoo Fantasy Football League. The thing that I find with movement is that I encourage it, and I actually do appreciate it a lot, because it means that guys are actually paying attention to their teams and they're willing to make movement to make their team stronger. There are some that just set the lineup and leave it like that. That kind of annoys me a little, but I get over it. What's really nice, though, is that when guys actually care enough with their lineup to do the research and to see if they can make their team better by finding a guy, a hidden gem, a diamond in the rough on the waiver wire. It's very important, in my opinion. Now, that's your Week 3 story in the TST Total Sports Talk inaugural Yahoo Fantasy Football League. Until next week, this is Andrew Rogers signing off, TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you again next week